Welcome to the Love Connection, where you heal from your past so you can enjoy your present. I'm your host, Nathan McGuire, marriage and family counselor with Empower Counseling, Coaching, and Spiritual Direction, right here in Indianapolis, Indiana. The Love Connection is a show designed just for you. Here we address relationship matters, childhood wounds, singleness, dating, marriage, and more, all through the lens of Christ's love. I have a special guest with me today, but first let me give you our call-in number, 239-1310, 239-1310. If you have a question or hear something interesting that you'd like to comment about, call us at 239-1310, 239-1310. On today's show, we'll be talking about mental fitness and some tools to make sure that you can be mentally fit. I'm talking about concepts and different ideas that help us discover if we are mentally fit, and then how do we get mentally fit. So I have a special guest I'm so excited to talk to you about, but before we get there, if you don't mind just saying a word of prayer with me today. Father, thank you for being a mighty and an awesome God. I pray that this isn't just some religious routine, but an awesome spiritual experience where we experience the most powerful entity, and that is the unconditional love of God. Father, I pray that all those you want to hear this message today, that they take some time, cause them to sit and be still and listen what it is that would cause them to have healing in their life. In the end, we pray that the hearts of the fathers will be turned to the children, and the hearts of the children will be turned to the fathers. I pray that there will be something said today that would bring your love, your healing, and allow people to understand the importance of being mentally fit. It is in Jesus' name we pray. We love you. Amen. Amen. So today we have Keila Price of Marcelli and Chase Photography, and I'm reading. She's got the shirt on. I don't know if you can see it. Actually, if you go to NathanielMcGuire.com, we're broadcasting live right now, NathanielMcGuire.com. And mental fitness is the new sexy. Now, some of you have been asking me, what are these shirts about, Nathan? You've been wearing. What's going on with you, man? You're going through some changes. This has to do with Keila. She got me. She has started what is a movement. It's a website. It's an initiative. But we have Keila Price, and so if you want to know who this person is, she is here with us today. Keila, talk to me. First, I just want to know who you are and what you do.
First, I'd like to start with my most important role in my life, and I'm a mother to two beautiful boys, a 17-year-old and a 4-year-old. I'm a former marketing executive. I was in marketing for about 12 years before I decided to step away and kind of explore my entrepreneurial spirit, which has always been within me. And so I started to take up photography, and that was after the birth of my 4-year-old son. After the birth of my 4-year-old son, I also was diagnosed with a pretty severe bout of postpartum depression. So in my quest to figure out what was going on with me, to get back to my happy place, to use my creative outlet to get back to my happy place, and to do God's will, I decided to start a campaign called Mental Fitness is the New Sexy.
Mental fitness is the new sexy.
Mental fitness is the new sexy.
And talk to me, what made you, and I have to say, just being in this line of work, I'm always looking for new ways to, take this, especially with Christians and especially our community sometimes. Our community, whether it be younger, African American, the country as Americans, Keila, we have this false understanding of what it means to be mentally healthy and to do therapy. And I just thought that you have this cool way of getting us to embrace what it is we should embrace. Tell me, how did this come about? What made you kind of use your creative side and kind of name it this? How did that come about?
Everybody always asks me that question. Why particularly did I choose mental fitness as the new sexy? Well, number one, I wanted to help eradicate the stigma. When I was going through postpartum depression, I realized that the most damaging part of the illness is the silence.
Yes.
It's this deadly silence that keeps us on this isolation island where we don't want to talk about it. And if we do want to talk about it, we want to just scratch the surface. And then the Christians want to tell you to pray and keep it moving. So I realized that the two combinations that were the most damaging were mental health. We're afraid of those two words, and we're afraid of the combination mental illness. So I wanted to figure out a way to create more brand awareness. So at that time, it was fit is the new sexy, 40 is the new sexy, fit and 40 is the new sexy. So I used my brand awareness background, my branding background, and decided to come up with a new brand. How about mental fitness? Because people want to be fit. Because back then people were jumping on that brand,
That's right.
that brand background, that brand awareness campaign, that fit, that sexy,
Yes.
40. So I decided that let's do mental fitness is the new sexy and see if it empowers people to jump on that bandwagon. Because a lot of times when you're going through something that has to do with any kind of mood disorder or mental illness, anxiety, and depression, it's just general stress, whatever the case may be, it is, you feel like you're losing control. So my goal is to put you back in control because you have the tools to be mentally fit, just like you have the tools to be physically fit.
That's right.
You can get a gym membership, you can go to the gym, you can say, I'm going to run, I'm going to work out, I'm going to do Pilates, I'm going to do yoga. Well, I wanted to revolutionize the way we think about mental illness and call it mental fitness. They're different tools. Some are the same because exercise and eating healthy is a part of being mentally fit. But there are other tools you can do to empower yourself to be mentally fit. So that was the goal.
Kayla, what I like about what you're saying is the silence. So there are women listening right now, and they've had children. Some of them right now are pregnant. Some of them may have infants right now. They're hearing you talk. Can you name some of the symptoms that you were experiencing that allowed you to say, whoa, I'm going through a deep level of depression? So women out there can hear what it is that they may be experiencing, and so you might be able to allow them to name some of these emotions. What was that like? What were some of the things you were experiencing?
Well, first, let me kind of spell some of the myths because a lot of times people think it's just baby blues. It's the first 6 weeks postpartum where you're just kind of hormonal. Your hormones have been at this all-time high where those endorphins were naturally released, and then you have the baby and you crash.
That's right.
So mostly everybody goes through that kind of baby blues kind of period that lasts about 6 weeks. What most people don't know is that you can be diagnosed with postpartum depression within the first year after your child's birth. And usually it comes on because you don't know what's going on. You're sleep deprived, you're not eating, your hormones are still all out of whack. And usually one indication as well is a traumatic birth, a traumatic pregnancy, or a lack of a healthy support system. So I had all three. So I have my husband he's in the studio now, he's my wingman, he's my ride or die, he's my support system.
Mr. Jay Price, we actually have him in the studio.
My biggest cheerleader. Couldn't do without. But we also had a new premature baby at the time. So he was trying to keep me up, trying to keep the baby up, trying to keep our oldest son up, and it was quite difficult. I actually didn't notice the symptoms in myself. Wow. The reason why I mentioned that is because he noticed. You're isolating yourself. You're kind of snapping, than usual. You're kind of sad, all the time. I'm a creative free spirit, so I'm engineering something, creating something. I'm mover and I'm a shaker, and he noticed that there were some changes in me.
And I tell couples a lot of times when they are going in for checkups with the baby, sometimes that's really why it's important for your partner to go in. Because, the doctor's asking some things and the other partner can recognize what's going on. And I love that what you're talking about, Kayla, with the baby blues or the depression. Some people don't realize that even mothers that have adopted children go through the same symptoms of this depression or postpartum. So Kayla's naming a overwhelming depression, a lack of energy. One of the things that mothers will come in and talk to me about is how they don't want to say it, but they're literally not liking their own child sometimes. Sometimes they're thinking that, some of the most extremity, because it goes in spectrums, but one of the things that happens, even a bit of psychosis, where they just know the child does not like them, and they're hearing messages. And Kayla, was so powerful what you're doing in this moment. So many mothers will not talk about it. And it's the community's fault too, because we stigmatize them and say they're doing something wrong or they don't have faith. Yes.
I've heard it all.
Mm-hmm.
And these are a lot of well-meaning people. So I'm not talking about people with any kind of malicious
Yes.
intent. This is just what we've been programmed to believe, is that your failure is enough. Oh, you're not being strong. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You're not praying enough. You need to go to church more. I mean, I was doing all of those things, and I still wasn't feeling like myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I needed to do something to change the way people think, so that any other woman who is going through this type of situation, you know how to support them.
Yes.
Certain people thought that they were supporting me, but they weren't supporting me in the correct manner. And I realized that this is just all a matter of ignorance, and I mean that in the most affectionate way possible. But we have got to change the way that we view mental health, so that not another woman like me won't go through the same thing, or another child won't commit suicide within the past month, or another mother won't commit suicide, or another mother won't try to harm her babies because she feels like there's no way out. You know, Dr. Nzinga Harrison, who is our campaign psychiatrist and would be a keynote speaker at our first event, she told me something that was very profound. And she said, well, in my experience, what I've learned is that the people who recover the quickest and get back to their regular self are the ones that have a healthy support system. And I think that is just so profound. Most people think it's a pill that you pop. And it might be a combination of cognitive behavioral therapy and medication. But a lot of times it's just your support system. You know, when you can't control those thoughts in your head, you need healthy people around you.
That's right.
Put healthy thoughts back into your head. So,
we're going to get a little bit to the support system. One of the things I want to ask you is you can really right now break down why talk therapy is so important and how it is helpful in healing, because that's one of the scariest things for some of us to do, is to first of all admit we need help, and then go through the process of talking through things and talking things through and getting it out. How in the world, Keila, is talking to somebody helpful? I mean, you can talk to yourself, you can talk to your husband, you got, friends. How can going in the room and expressing these emotions and feelings, how was that really helpful for you?
with the therapist,
Yes.
because I was able to, number one, have that focused time that was just on me. I think that was the most, important. Just that focused time where I felt like I could be totally naked, for lack of better words, where I could sit without judgment and tell what was on my mind. And then to have somebody who's knowledgeable to help me figure that out, because I couldn't figure that out on my own. And again, you have these well-meaning folks, but they aren't therapists. Therapists is a hard role. It's a very specifically trained role to help you get back to your happy place and to help you. My therapist always tells me with knowledge comes power. When you find out the source, then you can figure out the problem, and then you can plan your action steps in order to eradicate that.
Can you say that one more time?
When you figure out the source,
Yes.
you can figure out the problem, and then you can take action steps. Use your plan of action to help you eradicate that problem or solve that problem.
Yes.
And again, a lot of times people think that when I say that everything's gonna be all better tomorrow, well, okay, I went to therapy today. You told me to go to therapy, everything's gonna be better. Tomorrow I should be fine. What they don't realize is just with anything else, it's a process.
That's right.
Therapy is a process, and talk therapy is so incredibly helpful. It is probably the most helpful tool in getting to be mentally fit and maintaining your mental fitness and trying to get to be mentally fit. If you're stuck in a place. And I always say that even if you've gone through therapy and you feel like, oh, cool, I got this, you need to go back for a tune-up.
That's right.
On a periodic basis, because there's nothing more important when it comes to being mentally fit than having that one-on-one time with somebody who's knowledgeable and can give you those tools to maintain your mental health.
It's so powerful. Keila, as I start doing this work, one of the things that I begin to do is show this integration piece about how Yeshua, Jesus was saying the same thing in the Bible. He was describing how the personal relationship and intimacy is the most healing power that exists. And as therapists, really what we're doing is we're creating a safe space for people to express themselves. And so there are texts in the Bible like this. Mourn with those who mourn, rejoice with those who rejoice, right? It means to match their affect. Meet them where they are at, and then as you meet them where they're at, see if you can then walk with them to a healthier place. But don't push past their emotions. Don't judge their feelings. Don't begin to say that, you know, if you had faith, you would not be sad, where that is not biblical, right? You know, parents, and if you're listening to me, I want you to know that one of the most healthiest things that you can do, they would say this all the time, and I just would see it in the midst of therapy, is this is what makes healthy children. To say to them and to have this concept and understanding, this is when kids know that they're okay, and helps them build a foundation of being mentally fit. When they know that mommy's okay, daddy's okay, so I'm okay. And when you are saying that, you know, I'm okay, but something's wrong with your father, right? If you are saying, you know, I'm okay, but something's wrong with your mother, well, you know, the truth is that is part of them. So they then internalize that and say something is wrong with me. The other thing that you can say is, and understand this concept that I understand how you feel. When we don't do that with our children, what happens is when they grow up and you ask them, are you okay? They say, I don't know. And the reason is because they were not taught at a young age. So a part of what we do as therapists is another text that I use for the foundation, I think, of all psychology. Train up a child in a way that they should go when they're old, they will not depart from it. Our goal is to check how you were trained. That is the foundation of how you express your emotions. That is the foundation of how you will go and acquire help. And these are all things that our spirituality proclaims, screams at us to do, is to use this talk therapy. The best form, one of the best forms of therapy is form close, intimate relationships support system. Right? That's really what discipleship is supposed to be. The Bible says, go ye therefore and make disciples. Right? That is the Great Commission. And as we do that and we connect one to another, that's what it is that allows us to heal. So we're going to get a little bit into, Keela, what this event is. But first, I think we have the honorable, this is my guy, Rev. Are you on the line, Rev? Talk to me, Rev. Yeah. What she say, man? Where you going? I'm with you, Rev. I'm with you. Talk to me. Yes. Keela, tell Rev what it is.
Mental fitness is the new sexy.
We messed you up, Rev. Yeah. There it is, Rev. In the Lord. Yeah. Boom. Rev, I had to cut you because you said everything right there, Rev. That's all you needed to say. Watch this, watch this, watch this. He said, he said, Now, I don't know if I can say it like Red, but he said, and it's so powerful. This is where the concept of where we get therapy and why it was invented was abandonment and how you treat your children. The Bible says, train up a child in the way that they should go when they're old and not depart from it with a promise that they will live long. This is the most important one, though. Fathers or parents, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the love and admonition of the Lord. It means that if you don't connect with them and love them the way that you're supposed to, it causes them to be angry and full of rage and an inability to connect with people. The other part is that children will not do what you say, they do what you model, and then they will marry it. Let me say that one more time. Children will not do what you say, they do what you model, and then they will marry it. This is all an essence of why, God is really telling us parenting is the most important job that exists, because it gives us the foundation for how that we express ourselves and then how we are able to connect with other people. And our mental health comes from how it was modeled to be mentally healthy.
Exactly. We have not appropriately modeled for our children how to handle mental health issues. So when they get in a spot where they feel like they're in crisis mode, or they're overwhelmed, they're discouraged, they're distressed, they're hopeless, they're desperate, they do something dangerous and permanent if you haven't modeled how to effectively handle that. I have a prime example. I was at the Indiana Suicide Prevention Walk this past Saturday, and I was talking to a couple who lost their grandson. And I said, well, did you ever talk about, mental health and mental illness, anxiety, depression, being overwhelmed, stressed in your household? And she said, well, no, I didn't feel like I had to. I thought he was okay. But the next part, she says, well, I did have, a lot of anxiety and depression, so much so she made a joke that sometimes I wish I hadn't had kids because I pass it on to my children.
She just told you everything.
Yeah. But then I said, okay, let's circle back. So why did you feel it was important to have not one conversation about anxiety and depression in your household? We're modeled to give that answer, that cliche answer. How are you fine? How's everything going? Fine. Are you on? Okay. Oh, I'm good. And that's that surface answer. And that's what people are going to respond to. They're not going to respond to your actual truth, what you're feeling on the inside, although we expect them to.
That's right.
They're going to respond to your answer. I'm fine. Everything's good. But that's what we've been taught. That's what I was taught, which is why when I was going through postpartum depression, I stayed on that isolation island for so long. And the longer you stay there, the longer it is for your recovery time. When I first heard the words, I'm feeling low, I'm feeling like I can't even take care of my child. I'm feeling like I know I'm a good mom, but I feel like a failure. Like, you have to stay home to my husband. I don't think I can do this.
That's right.
It was so liberating
to voice that.
To voice that and be that transparent. When I started being more vocal about it publicly, it was even more liberating because I got tons and tons and tons of emails and phone calls and messages saying, you don't know how brave it was for you to do that, number one. But number two, I felt the same way. I feel the same way. Can you connect me with a good therapist?
Yeah.
I get those questions
right.
all the time. Can you connect me with a good therapist? Who's your therapist? Can you send me to one? It was just so liberating to know that the power of your voice. People don't understand how much power they actually have. When you feel stuck, you feel like there's no way out. I need somebody else to get out. You don't even realize that you're equipped with the tools inside of you that God gave inside of you to bring yourself.
Are you listening to Keela Price? I hope you guys are listening to that. Keela, what you're saying is so powerful. One of my favorite texts, it says that we overcome him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, right? It's like we try to overcome these instances with just faith, believe, Jesus, but it says, tell your story. It's your story that supersedes everything. So if you hold your story in, and that's a part of the gift is your story. I heard I think it was Jeffrey Johnson Jr. He talked about turning your pit into your platform, right? So here it is that you've gone through this, and imagine if Keela Price would have held all this in. I wouldn't have my man shirt on. I don't know if y'all see that live, right? I got my man shirt on. Okay. Jay's got his on. We got to get you one, too, bro. We got to get you one there. We wouldn't have this big movement happening, but this is because Keela stepped out and began to tell her story and help the community and other people heal. So, Keela, now you got to tell us, what are we doing at Bluff? What time is this? What is going on?
It is called Let's Get Mentally Fit. It's an event that we're having at the Bluff on Saturday, October the 18th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So we'll start with our campaign psychiatrist and keynote speaker who will deliver a word on what mental fitness is not. Because mental fitness is not being happy all the time. So now we're going to dispel some myths right off of that. Then we're going to go into our panel discussion with some esteemed panelists like yourself. So happy to have you on the panel. Dr. Susan Foster Vinson, who will speak. She's an OBGYN who will speak from that post and pre-pregnancy perspective. We have Grace Layton, who's a therapist, who will speak from that adolescent, young people, teen.
Shout out to Grace, that's my colleague, CTS.
We'll also have Corey Daniel, who is battling Graves' disease.
Better known as Kong.
There you go. Battling Graves' disease, and with Graves' disease comes depression. So he's a real life, and let me tell you what I love about that movement. He's a man, and he stepped out, and he's vulnerable. And he said, yes, there are days where I feel so low. I battle depression, it comes with my illness. This is how I fought my way out. He did his with a combination of healthy eating and exercise. But I love the fact that he's a man.
That's right.
He stepped out to the platform and said, yes, I'm going to represent for all the other males, because it's so hard to get males to come into therapy. It's really hard for them to be vulnerable. So I thought that was just really profound and necessary for him to be on that platform. I'm going to have myself on there as well, because I think that when people basically see what I've done with the campaign, they don't see somebody who was suffering from pretty severe bout of postpartum depression.
Wow. That's awesome.
So I need to let people know that it's people like me, people think of mental illness, they think of somebody walking on the street, the veterans, holding up the signs, Sometimes it's just me and you, sometimes it's that CEO, sometimes it's that VP of, Microsoft, sometimes it's the head of Lilly, sometimes it's, a mom that you think has it all together, whatever that means. I don't need you to define it before we end. What is having it all together mean? But I need people to see that it's people you're working next to, you're sitting next to, that could be battling some type of anxiety and depression.
You need to tell your community about this. Tell them about your website.
My website is www.mentalfitnessissexy.com.
Yes.
And let me tell you how it started. It started with a campaign. So part of the campaign is taking the pledge. And the pledge is this: you just vow to do certain things in order to get or stay mentally fit. That's to eat healthy, that's to exercise, that's to love yourself, forgive yourself, simply be yourself. That is to talk to someone immediately when you're feeling overwhelmed or discouraged or depressed or distressed or just generally stressed out. And that's also to invite people to join your support system by taking the pledge with you. You take the pledge simply by purchasing a t-shirt and committing to do those requirements that are outlined in the pledge card.
So I want to mess everybody up. One of the things that drives me crazy, first I'm going to put this out here. I want you to call me and let me know if you even think being mentally fit, if it is necessary. Do you think it's really the most important thing that we should be focused in on right now? So call me up, tell me, call us up too, and tell us, some of the symptoms, and we'll define if that is depression or if you're in need of talking to somebody. But let me just define how simple this is. Just people have these judgments about, do they need help and do they need to talk to somebody? This is what I know if you're an American. Number one, America, we don't know what abuse is. We've normalized it. Most of us have no idea when we're abusing people or when we're being abused. Abuse is this. It is the misuse of power. Yelling at your child 20 minutes in their face and they can't go anywhere, smacking them, taking somebody's information and putting it out there and you didn't ask them, holding somebody, you're taking their money and you're not letting them do certain things. We're talking about simplistic things that are the misuse of power. Let me tell you something else. You are the emotional age as when you were traumatized if you did not go and get any help. Let me say that one more time. Whatever age you were emotionally traumatized at, is the same age you are emotionally now. So if you were 5, 6, and you faced some type of major trauma, if you didn't go get any help, guess what? When you get mad, you turn into that 5-year-old little boy or that 5-year-old little girl. When you have felt some type of pressure, your back is against the wall, you'll get angry, you'll get mad, and you in that moment are a little kid and you don't recognize it. And so part of the things that we do is help people pinpoint these trauma and this trigger. And in the end, let me tell you this, if you've never been to any therapy, I'm going to mess you all the way up, how do you know if you're emotionally fit or not? How do you know? How do you know if you're emotionally healthy? It drives me crazy. Many of us in my line of work, for a while, I was one of the only African-American males that had what you call a marriage and family therapy degree in Indianapolis. And there needs to be one of us on every corner. I'm recruiting Jay Price. He don't know it or not, but I'm coming after you, brother. Because this is what we don't realize. If I have a bunch of people in here, Keela, and I ask them, how are your teeth? They will say, I don't know, I think they're okay, but I'm going to go to a dentist to figure it out. If I ask people if they're emotionally fit, I get all kinds of crazy answers. I get that, I'm okay. Well, how do you know you're okay? Well, I went to church. Okay. And I'm looking at their spouse. I'm like, are they okay? They won't say nothing. They're just looking down at the ground, right? How do you know you're emotionally fit? How do you know you're emotionally okay? You need to go to a professional and find out if you're okay. And pray. God will lead you to the person that is gifted to help you. But people are gifted to help you deal with these situations. You cannot do it all by yourself. I want you to know that. So we have Michelle Carr. You on the line? Talk to me. Hello? How are you doing? Talk to me. Mm. Yes. Michelle, I'm just not realizing who's on the phone. Oh, Michelle.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly.
Michelle, first of all, I do want to congratulate you on just doing the work that you've done. It's been amazing watching you do that. And can you just tell everybody what was it that made you get to the point where you realized, hey, I need to talk to somebody? What made you do that? Mm. Mm. That's right. Yes. Well, Michelle, and I just want to say that it was powerful watching you really discover, what was going on from the medication to, how much talk therapy. Because I remember one point you had kind of given up, and then realizing that this is kind of what you needed to maintain your support system. And then, just learning that you needed to be consistent in that. But Michelle, you sound really good on the radio. I didn't. Your voice sounds powerful. This might be something you get into later on. Well, thank you, Michelle. I appreciate you, and I just appreciate the work that you've been doing, and thank you for calling in. Thank you, Michelle. Uh, bye. And you guys, I want you to know these are some of the symptoms Michelle named. One of the biggest things that people go through is that they go through this isolation where they want to be all by themselves, and they feel that if I could just help myself, if I could just talk to myself, if I can just be a little stronger. And Kilo, talk a little bit about almost feeling like this is a lack of faith. This is a lack of being strong, that I am going through something. How did you get through that portion of your life?
Well, first I had to manage the people in my life.
Mm,
Because once again, it goes back to what Dr. Harrison said, is that part of being mentally fit is your healthy support system. And I realized that no matter how well meaning, it wasn't a healthy support system. So I cried for the week.
mm,
Why? Why God? Why are you doing this to me? The whys became okay, what do you want me to learn from this God? And I started delving into my work, not bashing myself. I don't have enough faith. Oh, something's wrong with me, but just trying to understand. And then the what's became hows. How do I use it to do your will?
mm,
And then once I started to do that, I realized that it wasn't about a lack of faith. It really wasn't. It's not about me not having enough faith. I had faith. It was really about me being still enough to listen to what he was trying to tell me and what he was trying to get me to do. And so that's when it transformed for me when I stopped listening to them and started listening to him.
start listening to him. Listen to this. And we're about to have, I'm about to bring on Pastor Mike here. Uh, This is not one or the other. We're talking about holistic health. If you embrace therapy, does not mean you reject your spirituality, your Christ, whatever your higher power is. We're talking about bringing them together. If you accept God and God's faith and His power, does not mean you reject therapy. We're talking about, so go to church. All right, we're not telling you not to go to church. We're not trying to tell you not to do whatever your spiritual orientation is. Do that. And also understand that there's a uniqueness here, that there are people out there that deal with your mental health specifically, and you also need that too. Pastor, are you there? Good, man. Thank you, man. Good to hear you.
Oh, thank you.
Now, well, hold up, man. Pastor, no, this ain't right, man. So let me get this right. You listen to me, and I get your text and stuff, but now, because Keela's here, you want to chime in. I'm not mad at you, man. Talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. Mm, mm. Say that again, Pastor.
Yeah, say it again.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
Yes.
Man, you better preach, man. Hey, man,
Amen.
I owe you an offering, brother.
Wow.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Well, thank you, Pastor.
Thank
You
you so
sure did preach,
much.
and I won't mind if when Keela ain't here, you go ahead and call in and drop one of them. Thank you, man. Hey, man, congratulations.
We do. We do.
You gotta come. You can't resist.
Oh, thank you. I love you too.
Hey, man, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Love
you,
you
brother.
too. Thanks for your support.
Hey, man, we love you too, brother. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, man. And congratulations, man. You're coming up on your what, man? What anniversary here?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, I'm trying to check you out. I've been checking you. You got some skills, man.
Yes.
You a new. Hey, and I gotta give you this. This pastor is making a new song, so thank you for being obedient to the word, my brother. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly.
Thank you,
Thanks,
brother.
Pastor Jones.
Uh, Okay, brother. Thank you, Pastor. Once again, this is Nathan McGuire. I'm here with Keela Price. We're live online at nathanielmcguire.com, nathanielmcguire.com. You can go there and hopefully be able to see us live. Keela, tell us one more time where this is at, where this event is at. And then some people were texting me too about what's the difference between going to this event and getting this T-shirt. Like, do you got to be a therapist? You got to have an organization. What is it you got to do to get on this campaign and get a T-shirt?
To get on the campaign, we just have to commit to be mentally fit. That's all you have to do. We have 17-year-olds, we have 20-year-olds, we have 55-year grandmothers, we have moms, we have expecting moms, we have people from literally all across the country who are taking this course to be fit. You don't have to be a doctor, you don't have to be a therapist, you don't have to be a psychiatrist. All you have to do is have that desire to be mentally fit.
Okay, so this is what we are trying to do. We're trying to get as many people, not just in Indianapolis, but starting here, but around the nation to take this pledge. And what we're also trying to do is fill the buff up with people that have taken the pledge. And one of the reasons this is so important is um, just recently, Aberbuff Cathedral, Park Tudor, schools. Where else? I think there was another kid just recently,
There was two.
to a cathedral.
Mhm.
These kids have committed suicide.
Mhm.
Parents, let me tell you why you need to be concerned about what we're doing here. Um, if you don't make it your concern, um, the concern is being made right now because your children are going through this on a day-to-day basis, and you need to be aware of what is happening. And it looks as simple as this. Keila, I'll never forget. It's back to back. This was happening where I would have mothers come in and they would talk about this distance between their child, and then I would say, where do you spend your time? And they would say, in the bedroom with the door shut, with the TV watching me. And I said, well, what are you doing in that time? I don't know. Right? Let me tell many of you that might not realize this is one of the biggest forms of depression that I have seen, and I coin it with different cultures and times. We got uniquenesses in our depression, but one of it I've seen is Black female depression. It's I get off of work, I go in a room, I shut the door, and I close myself off, and I let the TV watch me. And I sit in that space, and I don't want to be bothered by anybody. And when I'm in that space, that sad little girl in me that was abandoned when I was a little kid that wanted to connect with my father or mother a little bit more, and they weren't there. I'm sad right there. And really, I'm depressed. And really, I'm about 6 or 7 years old, and I feel that no one cares. And when I feel that way, I will take my kid or somebody around me and try to pour that heaviness onto them, and then I charge them that it's their job to make me happy. That's right. It's their goal, it's their job to make me feel happy. All of that is unconscious, totally unaware that that is happening, and don't realize that I would need to go get help for such a thing. Now, this is my bone to pick because this is my work and this is what I do. The last thing people want to pay for the price. Oh my man! I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm getting in here. My people were called by a name. If you would humble yourself, imagine your entire heart and your spirit is controlled by your mind. Paul said, take every thought captive, right? It's like the ability to arrest these crazy thoughts, these feelings, these emotions have to do with your mind being fit. And the last thing you want to pay to get your hair done, to get a haircut, to get some shoes, to go to a movie, but the last thing we want to pay for is to get our mind right. We got to change something.
Let me tell you why. Because I had an interesting conversation with Trina today, actually before I got here. And let me tell you why. I think it's because of the threatening stigma that's attached to mental illness and mental health. You think that when you go, somebody will tell you everything is wrong with you. And you're going to go leaving more depressed than what you felt when you even walked in. And that's what I'm trying to change. I'm trying to eradicate that stigma that's associated with mental illness and mental health. And let's call it mental fitness. Let's empower you. This is not a Debbie Downer, oh, there's something wrong with you, you don't have faith. That's not what this is about. This is to get you empowered and equipped with solution-based information and resources so that you can be in control of your mental health. That's what this is about, and that's what this event is about. So when you go there, you're going to be rejuvenated, you're going to be revived, you're going to feel empowered. You're not going to walk in feeling more depressed than what you did.
That's right. That's right.
You're not going to walk out feeling that way. You're going to walk out feeling empowered, right? I have a sense of control now. So many people wait until they're in the depths of despair. They feel like I have to be literally in the dark, buried in the dark to be lifted. And you don't have to do that. You have to recognize, just like Michelle said, when I'm kind of leaning to the side, okay, I'm not all the way tilted yet. I'm kind of leaning to the side. Okay, I might need to start using my resources and tools to be mentally fit. That's exercise, that's eating right, that's meditation, that's prayer, that's therapy.
That's right, therapy. And the research tells us why. It comes from our mistrust of the system. When we went, there was a time where we were literally, experimented on. So we typically have a lack of trust when it comes to the whole mental health thing. And then at times when we went in there, we were prodded on as being inferior. So there's also this big movement where, there was a time in cognitive behavioral work where your faith was not embraced. It was kind of looked down upon. So the last thing we want to do is go somewhere where, the community is always thinking less of us, then as a people of faith thinking less of us, and then they're going to tell us something's wrong with us. That's too much of us, being wrong. So, what Keila is doing is she's pointing out, first of all, there's been a major shift in all of this. There was a time if you were a creationist, that didn't really even exist. It was if you're a scientist, you couldn't be a Christian. If you're a Christian, you couldn't be a scientist. And now these things have changed, and the same thing with psychology. So this is the most powerful thing, I think, that Keila's life really illustrates. This is what happens, you all. This is the empowering piece of some of my favorite work. This is what happens when you go and get some help and talk to somebody. And we're seeing it manifested in Keila's life. When you go and deal with the problem that you're facing, that usually is the very place that your gift is. So when you go and get help, when you go and deal with the problem that you have and you begin to tell your story about the issues you face, that's exactly where your gift is. It's where your destiny is. So when you go and deal with that, then you open yourself up and you're empowered to go and heal people that suffer in that same valley that you just come from. So now you're empowered to do the very thing that you thought that you could not do, but it all relied in your pain and your issue. And it evolves. So I'm watching, Keelis, you are evolving. From, what I first liked is you were in a corporate job in the midst of depression. You come out of it. Now, who does that? I mean, little Shira over here. I mean, who does that? You come out of that depression trying to find gifts. So now you're doing gifts. Then you go from there and launch a campaign. Then you go there and you're like all over the community helping people heal and bringing awareness to this very thing. So that's the empowering piece. And now you're aligned with the community helping you to do the very same thing. So, this is just a testament, Keila, your life is about what happens when you embrace and say, hey, I have an issue. Let's talk about it. It's okay. Signs. Let's go over these signs for people who are listening right now. Some of the signs of depression. Name some of those again.
Isolation. Again, going to a room. That's your safe place. You don't want to talk to anybody. You don't want to be bothered with anybody. Loss of interest. So if you're not doing the things that you typically used to do, if you typically used to like to go out and have a girls' night out every now and then, or date night with your husband, and you don't want to do those things anymore. We typically love photography, but now you don't like it so much anymore. Just sadness, and you really can't pinpoint where it's coming from, or why you're sad, or how to pull yourself out of what we call that funk. Those are, some of the signs. Sadness, anger can be a sign of depression. You're just mad all the time. And you're mad just because you don't feel like yourself. You don't know why you don't feel like yourself, and you don't know how to get back to your regular self. So you're just mad, all the time.
And what was it that you kind of referenced your husband, how Jay said them? What was it that he was witnessing? What is it he said to you that got you to kind of say, hey, I can see what he can see?
You know what? That comes from us having a solid marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And a solid foundation that is built on God. And I trust him completely because I know that God is leading him and he's leading me. So I really didn't understand what he meant. I just trusted him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Baby, you know what? I think we need to go back to see your doctor or something, might be wrong. I'm going to take you back to see the doctor.
You say, man, boy, you don't know what you're talking about. I ain't got time for
I was just like, okay. And we went, and she said that she's definitely experiencing some severe postpartum depression.
If you're out there and you're listening to some of these things, I hope that you really take a serious consideration about how you can come alongside us, how you can be helpful in this moment, how you can get a part of this thing, and to know that all of us struggle with these issues. We all have, Keila, it's just what I call spectrum. Some of us are a 10, some of us are a 1, but we all fluctuate back and forth, with some of these mental health issues. So one of the biggest things, and I think Corey's going to be talking about this, is Americans don't realize that the way we eat destroys us. How we think, our energy, depression, just the ways in which we eat have the biggest thing to do with how we're actually connecting one with another, our depression. Now, Keila, this is the funny thing. The text, and especially talking to the Christian community, our text is riddled with diet, how to eat, and we just don't pay attention to it.
We don't want to. We don't want to pay attention to it. But if you go sit down in therapy, the first question, I don't know if you do this, but the first question that I was asked is, how are you eating? And are you exercising?
Yes.
Because what you put into your body directly affects what comes out of your mind. And there's just no escaping it. There really isn't. If you put crap into your body, you will feel like crap. And I even did some little research-based tests.
Hey, man, is she allowed to say crap on the air?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I am.
Just checking.
I even did some little tests on my own theories, and I decided to, I was eating really healthy and was feeling really good. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to have this, see what happens, for a week or two.
Biggest effect.
It has the biggest effect.
So we're wrapping up here. This was Keela Price. Keela, thank you so much. I believe before we get to this campaign, we're going to have you on again. Say your website real quick.
It is www.mentalfitnessissexy.com.
And we're going to be at Brebeuf on what date?
October the 18th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Okay. And it is, who's the main speaker again?
Dr. Anita Harrison.
Okay. So make it there that you can also go and take this pledge. Go onto the website, look at these T-shirts. I'm out there. I don't know if you check me out. Keela took a picture of me with my hat. I'm feeling real good about that. But remember this, no greater love is there than this, that a man laid down his life for his friends. This is Nathan McGuire with the Love Connection, and I will see you next week, 7 to 8 on Monday. Well done. Well done.